Hello folks, great to have you join me. It's still learning English language with Uncle AY. So the last video I shared, we started to look at the topic clause, where I defined what a clause is. And I remember saying that a clause is a group of words which contains a finite verb. And then because it contains a finite verb, it may or may not make a complete sense, idea, thought, or expression. So in the build up to the definition, you also find that there is a clause, right? Still within the definition itself. That's clause itself. So, and this is because we have two types of clause in English language. The very first one is the main clause, right? Which we'll be talking about today. I defined it at the last video I posted, but then it has its own types too. So everything is listed on the board here. And I also remember giving us a definition of the second type of clause in English language, which is the subordinate clause. So there are two types of clauses in English language. The first one is the main or the independent clause. That's the alternative name. Independent clause is the same as main clause. Main clause is the same as independent clause. Both terms can be used interchangeably. And then we have the subordinate or the dependent clause. So a main or an independent clause is one that can stand alone in a sentence and of course express a complete thought. Yes, and let's not forget that it has to possess a finite verb first before it can be able to do this two aforementioned, that is stand alone in a sentence and then now express that complete thoughts. So that said, let's just delve right into the types of main or the independent clause. And there are four of them. The very first one is the declarative clause. Number two is the interrogative clause. Number three is the imperative clause. And then finally we have the exclamative clause. So what is the declarative clause? A declarative clause is one that declares or makes a statement outrightly. That's just the basic definition. It declares or makes that statement outrightly, straight to the point. So look at this now. It says here, she enjoys reading novels. She enjoys reading novels. So this is declarative enough. There are no other adjective because this is quite straight to the point. So it's a statement as such. It's a clear statement. So she enjoys reading novels. This right here is a declarative clause. And then number two, we have the interrogative clause. So another term for an interrogative clause is a questioning clause or an inquiry clause. So what does it mean, or what does an interrogative clause here mean? It's a clause that asks questions basically. So from the term interrogative, you could also say a questioning clause or an inquiry kind of clause. So that said, we have the example to be, what is your name? And you can see that at the end of these statements, right, a question mark is being appended. So that said, the next one is an imperative clause. An imperative clause is one that gives a command, a request, or an instruction, sometimes an advice too. So it gives a command, an instruction, a request, or an advice. So that said, you have an example here, get out of my house. So this right here is a command, get out of my house. How about please sit down? That is a request. So that said, let's go over to the last one, which is the exclamative clause. So an exclamative clause here is one that expresses a strong surprise or emotions at the end of a statement. Surprise or emotions would usually range from anger, despair, happiness, surprise itself, and so on. And for an exclamative clause, it is usually, always represented with the exclamation mark, the inverted I, right? This is an exclamation mark. This is a punctuation, by the way. So that said, we have the example here to be, what a beautiful day it is. At the end of that, there is an exclamation mark appended to the end of the statement, which turns it into what? That of an exclamation. So that said, this is all there is to the types of the main or independent clause. The very next topic we'll be looking at, well, more like we're still within the confine of clause, but we'll be looking at the second type of clause, which is the subordinate or the dependent clause. So that's the particular one that concerns students the most. It's a particular one that the exam bodies would always test students on. So I'll be seeing you in the next video where we'll be talking about the subordinate or the dependent clause. Don't forget to tell somebody what you've learned today. Don't forget to like, repost, and of course put a comment in the comment section. I thank you for your attention.